Hey, everybody. Need to work on my editing. I've done this several times. Still have trouble. Calling it a night. Easy money. Easy money. All right. I think I'm squared away. Maybe. So, y'all hear me? First off. Probably gonna be rambling. So, yeah, had some all right. Topic for tonight, more so in the line of where we find ourselves in the sense of needing justification or even having qualms with inadequacy or basically kind of being in the dark. And, you know, I've talked about just being in the dark many times before as well. You know, it's easier to see the light when you're in darkness. Like the city lights, turn them all off, and the stars come out even brighter. So, that being said, the reason really for sudden video and the name for it is I was thinking back on some different shadow work, different things that I've either dealt with or had trouble dealing with, and as well, not only the shadow work, but regression meditations over the last year. And, we've done several meditations and stuff together. I still find it more often than not, folks are allowing the chatter in the skull to ring a lot louder than the word. And part of this too kind of echoes back to the last episode, being in the sense of where we are still finding ourselves encompassed by duality. Really what I'm meaning is, like, as we move forward and we follow our feet onto any given destination, are we really so enamored by comings and goings of the left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, meaning, like, when we allow ourselves to diverge from any single path, what is to say that that divergence or either path, what have you, is right or wrong? And I look at the going situation, especially in like a socio-political backdrop, that it's all become more and more play on words, play on the scene, play on emotions. And like I said, as we move forward in this existence and being of this realm, it's these, I'm not going to call them false ideals either. It's more faded perceptions, I would say. And even in the sense of like good versus evil, that's part of our third density programming of duality. All right, and the reason why I'm kind of talking on this really too is many folks as of late have been thinking or feeling that of being backed into a corner. Like, you have to have a dog in the fight, or you have to pick one side, you have to choose where you stand in the sense of one minuscule point in time. And even then, like, time being non-existent, what then are we going to kind of equate all of our effort towards? I have this kind of just nagging thought as well, that when light is shed in the darkness and shadows creatures, nefarious beings come to bear, it is much like looking at the reflection of yourself from underneath an ice cap. Right? So you fell in a frozen lake, and as you fall through the ice, it forms back over in the hole. That's the reason why many times people that fall in ice or a frozen body of water, that's why they stay underneath, is because they lose the fracture point, like until the ice is over, and then they don't know how to get out. And they're trying to break through a wall of ice. But you can look at that ice and see the reflection of yourself, thinking it's someone there. In the same sense that no matter what we do and where we go from this is ourself and also outside of ourself. If that makes sense. Basically, what I'm getting at is that we are constantly being nudged either by our higher self and down from that is like guardian angel, spirit guides. These are all incarnations of our own soul that has been, fractured throughout this quantum reality in which we are in. So, in the same essence, too, being stuck on this grand battle of good versus evil. I'm not saying it's not real because we see the evidence of it, right? However, when we move forward, these ideals, these perceptions of a grand scheme of things become more so looking at the mansion from the porch. And that's a weird analogy, I know, but think of like an old school haunted house, like it's just that old, I don't know, the British-esque manor that's ducked off somewhere, right? And you walk in and you have the huge foyer that kind of leads to hallways. There's this big wrapping staircase, right? Well, in that sense, you'd be like, oh shit, this is a haunted house. Right? You just get some really weird vibes because like it's a big open space, but it's like encroaching on you as if it were. Like the staircase kind of reaches down to you and it's like something's coming at you or coming after me as you walk in. But if you tend to explore the various corridors and hallways, you'll start to realize that most of those shadows or noises or creaking boards are manifestation of the reality that you're perceiving as you perceive it. That's weird too. It's so a good way to think on it is when we're dreaming. All right, think of that as a fraction of your soul, but it's in a dream state realm, right? And then the dreams where we don't necessarily know it's a dream, but it becomes like a nightmare, right? And as we go through the nightmare and it becomes more so real, the realness of it almost feels fake, right? It's like, oh shit, I'm dreaming. Like, why am I truly allowing the fear of this manifested subconscious memory or ideal or whatever overpower me? And it is in that moment, like, you'll kind of stir yourself from sleep and you'll wake up a little bit, you'll shake it off, go back to sleep, right? So in the same way, what we're going through right now is, I like to call it that astral bridge between the dark night of the soul or some very lucid nightmare into this void. And reaching out into the void is going to be something that, regardless of persona, it's unsettling, right? How we kind of go forward into the unknown, like it's the adventure. However, it's you're leaving a place of turmoil and pain and realization and actualization of self, and all these different really heavy emotions, really heavy vibes, lessen frequencies rising to a higher frequency. But at the time, the transition is one that is not unlike dipping your toes in the water. And like, well, if it's cold, you shiver. Like, fuck that, right? Or if it's warm, like, but if it's like a hot spring, you don't know if it'll burn. All these different conflicting ideas. But that void into that nothingness, right? That's what I talked about last video about the Taoism, the importance of nothingness, the importance of emptiness. How when we get to that point, when we transition into that state, into that being, it is unnerving, yeah. But at the same time, it does nothing but allow us to grow, right? It's one of those things where as we keep going, the growth becomes immeasurable. Just like Young said, for any tree that wishes to grow to heaven, its roots must reach down to hell, right? Well, that transition, the dark night of the soul, that would be the manifested hell. That's your roots growing, deepening, right? Because you're allowing yourself to come to terms with your growth. And then as you sprout out into the sky, into space, into actualization, the void, it becomes limitless in growth, right? So from that point, we get a firm grounding. And in that grounding is this omniscient sense of knowing, how we can be so much more better than what we expect of ourselves. So when we do go forward and we start reaching into this realm of unknown and what's to come, it's really a beautiful thing. And the globe, or the realm, or earth, whatever you want to call it, where we are, is reaching this stage by the minute, I would say. Because also, like a friend of ours here recently on a video we watched, speaking of time and the relative sense of eternity, or infinity, which is of our higher self, where our incarnation has already been, but now is working towards yet again. So when we do go forward into this void, and as people, as beings, as a human race, yeah, it's going to be rocky, right? It's going to be bumpy. It's trauma, right? So I know I'm kind of bouncing around, but y'all know me, I ramble. Reason for the title of this video tonight was kind of inspired by conversations I've had throughout the day. And, you know, it's beautiful to have a community of like-minded individuals. We have several, and it is absolutely the best thing in the world. And it lifts that heart vibration. It makes it extend, right? You know, we are definitely all stepping into this green ray of light and energy from our heart space. More and more and more and more, right? And it is the culmination of this that's going to kind of propel society, culture, all of this. The dividing lines that we see, they're imaginary, right? The ideals of systems, they'll fall. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because our realm has shifted already. You know, like the big shift everyone wanted to talk about, thinking it was mainly about our ideals, our culture, our spirituality within the race, but what others didn't understand is like Earth itself, Mother Gaia, is a being as well. She beat us to the punch, right? She's there. Most of us are all playing catch up, okay? That's why these systems and structures and things are beginning to collapse. And as they do, it's massive amounts of trauma, just like a dark night of the soul. Like your entire beliefs, your ideals, your emotions, all these things collapse. Right? And I mean, talk about like rock bottom, right? You know, no longer get to be a goofy goober. We're straight into this sense of doom and gloom. However, that is a momentary lapse in the path forward. And what I mean by lapse is it's a trip, right? And as I said, you know, there's plenty of evidence to show the realities of their density and how it has just massive conflicting points and perspective to the whole of mankind and the fight of good versus evil. Now, reaching into fourth density is going to be more so along the line of that Christ consciousness. Now, I've talked about it a couple of times, and as that is actualized within each individual self, the pull, or think of it like a magnet to your higher self, like more and more and more and more, there'll be this thin blurred line where, you know, you're lifted from that icy lake or whatever. Now, that reflection is no longer just a reflection, but it's your embodiment. And you have saved yourself from doom, and cold, right? That's what I see coming for us. That's what is coming for us, because it's either keep up or catch up, but it's not something that can be, I don't want to say fight either, because there's no conflict. There is no conflict, right? These perpetuated dualistic ideals throughout history, throughout culture, throughout religion, that's just it. It's made up ideas and philosophies, and it's meant to keep us in a third density paradigm. Much like many of us know, the reptilian brain is the fight or flight mechanism. that was initiated like in second density. And then we got the third density started being able to be abstract and all that. But one begets the other. It's like it's the pillar, right? So all our creativity, our abstract ideals, all this will be the pillar on which we stand to get to the fourth density. But once we're there, that stuff falls, right? And that's what I'm getting at. Like the systems that we have, the agendas that we have, all these things that have been put in place to perpetuate where we are can no longer be as we move forward. So like from trauma, all these things were built from trauma, right? And, part of the conversations I was having, like, many of cultures or nations or ideals or systems are built on blood or built on the backs of children or, perpetuated in the sense of enslaving mankind to keep into that dualistic sense and that third density paradigm. Now, from that trauma, it was built from that trauma. And it is by the trauma that we're facing now, the realization that, oh shit, we are traumatized. We have to face our own demons, like what we're fighting against is really just our shadow. Sure, it's manifested as really evil people, right? But hell, like I was saying the other day, I think in the video, is hell, when I was doing my shadow work, I had a knockdown drag out. It's rough, and there's always work that can be done to progress and improve, and keep pushing that path forward. And it was funny, I talked about it the other day. The only path forward is forward. It's not left or right or back or somewhere in between. It's forward. So, in that same sense, we have realized the trauma and the hurt and the evil of that trauma, right? That in itself is traumatizing. So from all that trauma that has been and perpetuated this paradigm, it is by the trauma of this massive realization and this global identity crisis, almost as it were, of who are we, It's the same age-old question, who are we, where we come from, all this. And the answer's been known, it's just never been shared too much. And it's like, we are incarnations of our soul, and our soul is an incarnation fractured of our higher self, and our higher self is an incarnation of God, and God is the universe. It's all one source. And it just trickles down from there. I had my long rant on that and the different dimensions and what I think about it. Now, all that realization, all that identity, all that we choose to inculcate is a traumatizing event, much like what's going on now, the various conflict of ideals or systems, all this, it's trauma, right? And it's realizing the need to heal from former trauma, from trauma, healing from trauma. But that begets trauma in itself because, hell, some folks are like, I'm not traumatized until they realize, oh shit, I got some shit on my plate, I got to clean it up, So from that trauma, by trauma, see where I'm going, we then are able to seek and obtain Nirvana. Now, those are 3 different steps, and they're few and far between, right? but it's still steps. It could be baby steps, stepping stones, one giant leap for mankind, one small step, whatever, it's a step. Same as in, trying to learn a new task. You can dive head first into it, yeah, and there'll be bumps along the road, but it's step by step you begin to improve. You might have setbacks or whatever. Yes, you have to recognize the trauma to heal it. And then also the recognition of trauma sometimes is traumatic, It is through these traumas that show us our lessons, show us what is still yet to be learned, as we go forward, it might be more revealed to us that, hey, there's snags that have kept us in this paradigm. There's ideals that prevent us from accessing our highest good. And part of all this is, to feel exactly what we're feeling and pushing through this emotional fog that we are perpetuating, either anger or anger or regret, loss, betrayal. These are traumatic emotions, right? Even though it is healthy to have these emotions, to realize that they are present, it's perfectly fine. Feel what you feel. So, in that same sense, though, we should not latch on and identify with these emotions. Much like the Shaolin master I was telling y'all about many times. He's got a method. It's called RAIN. Recognize, accept, identify, or investigate, and non-identify. And basically what it means is recognize that we have this trauma. Recognize the obstacle in our path. Recognize that just because it's raining outside doesn't mean we have to get wet. We can play in the rain. Nourish. Water is life, right? Acceptance, saying, hey, yeah, it is raining, but still doing what I got to do today, right? Or pushing forth into this idea that is happening, not happening to me, right? It's not part of me. It is an expression of outside of me through my perception, right? So, and then investigate, why is this happening? Why am I seeing this? Why is this perception revealing itself to me? Why is the need for this happening now, right? Then it's non-identified, meaning this is not part of this being. This is not of this highest good. It is happening. I've accepted it. I've acknowledged it. I've investigated why it serves purpose. Now I move on and transition to a more healthy place. All right? And that would be climbing the mountain, reaching the summit, as it were. Yeah. So pressure makes a diamond is a representation of the strongest things in earth, right? And it goes back to crystalline form, some of the most beautiful crystals, which, we have a crystal lattice that inculcates our earth. And there's crystalline structure throughout the chakras there. As you get closer to source, it becomes more of a crystalline nature. All these things, right? So why are crystals so important? And they're made from massive amounts of pressure. Well, that should tell us that there's nothing in nature that's not reflective of human existence. Well, we are part of nature, but we're in it and of it all at the same time, right? Talked about that many times. I'm pretty sure that, not only are we of creation, we're in creation. And that makes us beautiful creatures, also as powerful creatures. We have that connection to both source and to the world. Be in the world, not of the world. Yeah, right. Yeah. So with that as well, we kind of prolong the inevitable, as it were. We put up the good fight. We strike out against that enemy that we create within that dark night of the soul, or within our shadow, and a reflection of what we consider evil within us, right? I mean, you might not like me saying it, but all the good versus evil that we have going on is evil perpetuated by mankind, right? So that means every man has potential to be just as evil. All right, so the evil is a reflection of what's lacking or what is discarded by good. And the good is what was discarded or lacking on the evil, right? So, yeah, that's kind of like a mirror. I saw a really cool post that had a picture of it. Let's see. 1 second. Yeah. So I like this page. It's called Astral Truth. It's a fucked up looking picture because that picture kind of will give mixed feelings, mixed meanings. But it's transcending duality is realizing God and Satan are the same entity, you. All right. And that speaks volumes to where we are today. Kind of, we're perpetuating this fight between good and evil. So once we're beyond that self-actualization, getting there, that strife and that turmoil, right? There isn't the higher self planes, so like as we approach getting closer to being our highest self, which is already there, and it comes back, forward, side to side, whatever you want to say, to nudge this incarnation into the proper path, right? And sometimes it takes more tries, and that's perfectly fine. See, here's the thing. It is no right path, wrong path thing in this sense. What it is, or what it becomes, is merely a journey and a voyage of the soul, experienced and personified in one facet by the greater source of things. That being said as well, it's sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow too, just because it's a lot easier for us to have something to fight against, right? That comes from that second density mindset fight or flight, that instinctual live or die. And as we moved into third density, it became more of a how can we do this more ceremonial type way, or how can it be manifested into a system in which tit for tat or cause and effect, all these types of things, right? The tension. Basically, getting that is that as we have that, and we stress the construct that either confines, manipulates, whatever the case matures breaking in a new facet, and it's all of the same distance, like much like the pressure of the earth creates different variety of pressure. You can have a very rough diamond, and then someone takes it, cuts it, and it's got all these different, and each individual facet will reflect millions of different possibilities. All right, well, on one of them, much like, say, like taking a mirror journey, but doing so from a place of hurt and trauma, it will reveal that in a negative way, such as like looking at the facet of, multiple faceted diamond or whatever. It will show you fractures of all the same image, and then one of those fractures could look really warped and twisted. Same way incarnated. There is bukudos of facets, aka people. Some of them are warped and twisted and not right. That's because they're coming from places of massive trauma. Even so, they might sit on a pinnacle of whatever in this paradigm. It's that path in which it's following becomes actualized to the trauma before. So I mean, it's all from aspects of trauma that we are allowed to progress. I know that sounds bad. It's kind of gloomy too. I don't like putting it like that, but it rings true throughout. Just buku of different situations. As we grow, as we heal, as we allow ourselves to heal, as we forgive, as we come into a body of gratitude, it is from these traumas that we release them, and by trauma that we realize that the trauma needs to be healed. Through all this healing, we reach Nirvana, right? That being said, I had another little thingy that was kind of cool. One second. Yeah, all right. So it was another like Jesus type post where I see the the realm, everyone in it. We're in the wilderness at this point. And it says, like, if you meditate, that really hit home when I first found that too, simply because there was many times where I would start doing like deep meditation, where I would, you know, seek answer to patterns, things that no longer serve our highest good, but it's familiar. It's has that tinge of that used to serve me. Maybe I should try it again or whatever. It's these things, right? Make that perspective, make that persona, make that self meditate on one. So, looking at various different chats. I'm sorry. Let's see. All right. That was just some things I was thinking about. I'm not only talking about this. It's funny. This actual same talk and same idea is like going on in a few different conversations that I'm having. One, some's a little closer to home than others, but yeah, I would like to open it up to anybody that wants to join. I'm tired of me rambling just for no damn reason. I mean, there is reason, but yeah, I'm sure somebody would like to have some input. Hey, let me see what I can do about that too. Moment, uno más. Yeah. Other than that, hit buttons. I don't need to. You know, coming from a place of observation. That's another one. So from these traumas, or by vicarious trauma, as well as we expose more of the hurt and more of the evil, or more of the shadow. Um, shit, what is it? It was just there at the time. I was saying it. Anybody have any idea? Damn. Literally, it's like I walked through the door. Shit. losing it, just moving forward. Well, there's also the part like where we reach like a crossroads almost, and observation, crossroads, observation. There we go. So, you know, we have this really fascinating ability to where we can take the perspective of an observer in our own life and in our own happenings. Say like we do come to a crossroads. We can channel the outcomes, right? You know, we can look at it and decide, you know, talk about choice and how we choose things and why we choose what, depending on the outcome, the foreseeable consequence. We choose consequence over, choose consequence over the actual choice of itself. Well, taking the role and perspective of the observer, we then allow for a certain perspective that kind of coalesce all those outcomes, all those consequences. And when we do that, looking towards why we made the choice, like why it becomes that choice or whatever, we take like the seat of the monk, right? You know, looking at a student and the student asked, "Hey, I'm in trouble. I need help. I need guidance. All this stuff." And the monk's gonna look at you like, "Okay, you just told me exactly what you are, but you're asking how to become what you are." And in a way, the monk will play mind games and do exercises or practices that will allow for turmoil and introspective amongst the person that's asking for guidance, right? And at some point, it'll come to a head to where that which seeks guidance becomes the same observer as the monk was when guidance was first sought. And that's like that pivotal moment of looking at the crossroads. Like, you know, you chose left, you chose right, whichever way, and the path lied forward. It was no left, right, straight forward, or straight back, side, whatever. It was forward. You know, what you choose, what you do is just fine. The same way I was talking last time, how no matter the outcome of what is happening here in this plane, it is happening according to the overall highest good. I know that sounds convoluted, and I know that might not be easy to hear either. You know, once we go to that kind of observer perspective, those things start to kind of become clear. What the general gist of what I'm basically getting at is how, regardless of like, you know, our trauma and the past trauma or future trauma, sideline trauma, I would say it's all mutual trauma, you know. It's when we start to heal from that you know, we rise above it. Sometimes it takes more trauma to rise above previous. That sounds bad too, but it might make sense. It makes sense to me when I'm looking at it from like a rear view lens kind of thing. So as we do go forward, as we push forward through this overall perspective dilemma that we have, it'll slowly be coming to the realization that we're on the right track. I said it many, many months ago, we're doing so much better than what we perceive ourselves to be doing. Even though there are higher powers, at work and doing things that allow for the nudge of our highest good, it is ultimately our decision, our choice. It's not a bad word for it, but our actualization into that highest good. And as a whole, it's happening. It's not a kind of just a blurb here or just some confined event. It is happening. Like the earth itself, its being has healed from much trauma. It is ascending in its own right towards its highest potential good. Same thing for us. We are moving in the direction of our highest potential good. Even though there might be missteps, even though there might be, bad outcomes in this predicament, whatever the case may be. Much like, my friend said previously, what is that flat tire, compared to the 100 years after your grandson? Or what is that flat tire compared to the blink of God? Time is something that is a construct and concept to keep us perpetuated here. It is that the idea of holding space, whereas the beliefs holding a position or a thing is space, and then the idea of that is time within. So I know I'm rambling again, kind of off kilter, but as we do pursue this highest good, as we come into contact with like-minded individuals, nurture and grow a community of healing. And that's basically what it is, a massive shift in healing. We're getting there, right? We're allowing ourselves to see the trauma. We're allowing ourselves to acknowledge it. And in this acknowledging, we heal. Well, some of the acknowledgement does bring more, just like as you shine light into the darkness, the shadows come encroaching in. This is true. However, at the same time, both of those, light and darkness, are of the same entity. It's, our psyche, it's shadow, it must be integrated into consciousness. You must make the darkness light by putting the light into the darkness. That makes sense, I hope. So as we do move forward, as we do better, that's the thing. I know it's kind of a heavier topic tonight, and that's just because I'm dwelling on the sense of trauma. There is much of it, not just my own, but all over. I don't mean to be heavy with it either. I do want y'all to realize that I am coming from an incredible place of harmonious healing, love, light, and clarity. And that's what we're all moving towards. It's it's a beautiful team. It's a beautiful thing. I don't have my team. I should have had my team. I think I probably got one. Go back to the chat and I can find it. Like 3 hours ago. Another thing, all right, this is just not working out. But anyways, regardless of the point, it's a beautiful thing, and we are pushing the boundaries of that healing and that heart space, and realizing that the perpetuated shadow that has just inculcated much of our history of the trauma that is ever present. It is being exposed, it's being brought to light. And with that, yeah, the shadow is going to reach out and bite back, right? But it's integrating these things. It's making them the mutual force for the highest good. That's what's allowing us to be in a better place. We are doing so much better than what is perceived, what the toxic mentality and the perpetuated doom and gloom, or the succumbing to the shadow as just this overbearing weight. That is the false perspective. That is the perspective of a forced choice, the crossroad, left, right. What do I do? I don't understand. I have to pick a direction, go forward. Like somebody was asking me the other night, I said, do I get lost? I went, oh yeah, I'm a straight freaking road. Going that way. It doesn't matter. I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the adventure. That's exactly what it is. It is a journey adventure. And we're here to grow, learn, evolve, and heal. There's in this incarnation, there's plenty of trauma from past. It's not really past, right? It's transdimensional. We're on this, think of it as like we're on a roller coaster train, and for every loop is a or small pivot in the axis, right? That's a whole different dimension, right? And the way to put it is like, I think there's a lot of roller coasters like this would be like freaking, trauma spurt. Regardless, it's that whole ride is the ride, right? And it's each little turn in the axis or shift in the motion of the ocean or a loop-to-loop that throws us all around. Those are all the concurrent regressions. Those are all the lives happening at once, right? Even though the big loop right out the gate, and then there's a couple more. There's like one that kind of twisted us right at the end before we stopped, and And each each one along the way kind of had that little sinking pit, having the choice to ride it again, right? It's I can do that. And that's all I'm talking about. We're forward very much way, even though there is setbacks, there's twists and turns, there's a couple of things that are kind of making us queasy. Like this. That is where we are. That's that good sense of all that is kind of in a sense of being like terrified of it. It's that sense of awe that we're approaching, and that harmonious nature, that heart space, that love, that Christ-like consciousness. It's and that comes from healing this trauma. That comes from self-actualization. That comes from progressing through, going forward through the dark night of the soul, right? It takes shadow work, it takes introspective, it takes, dissecting what, why, and hows of each individual trauma, each hurt, all these different conflicting emotions that might put us at dis-ease. And we are releasing these, we are healing these, and we are rising above that frequency of dis-ease. And, I'm not going to tell you what it's just going to be like. It's part of the journey. It's unimaginably beautiful. Let's put it that way. It is it's a humbling thing as well, where we can all coexist in love, harmony, peace, and light. A gaining of clarity, as it were. And it is through this that we are transitioning. It's all part of it. I don't want to keep on rambling all through the night. Yeah. See if there's anything else to pique the interest. Y'all got any questions? Anybody want anything to add? Like I said, I don't want to come off as just super heavy tonight. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. This is a good thing. This is a good message, I promise you. It comes with the tinge of one second, folks. Not just y'all I'm talking to. I'm talking to the fam and the rest of the fam and more of the fam. Yeet. So, it's a beautiful thing. Remember that. Can't go without a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I've talked about it a few times before too, even in all this sense, with everybody that's going on or whatever the case has been made about the paradigm that we find ourselves in, forgiveness and love. So we've talked about different entities and stuff, or the shadow, or let's just say like the reptilians per se. You know, if we keep in this sense of that is the enemy, that is the beings that are seeking our downfall, love them anyways, forgiveness, grateful for the knowledge of what is, and even more grateful for what's to come. Shower them with love. You know, we had a video in the group, not playing into the hands, playing on our emotions, not giving into a idea that I must rise against this perceived enemy, right? Right? It's this thirst and hunt and need for survival that is inculcated in that second to third density gap. Like I'm saying, the Earth is, bypassed its populace, and as we move forward, we're catching up. And that gap is that unconditional love, that Christ-like consciousness, accepting, investigating, not identifying, recognize the rain, let it rain. It's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, that's probably about it. And I'm gonna have another video later this week. Most likely it'll be Friday. I got business to handle tomorrow. I'll be looking forward to that. It'll be a little bit more concise, a little bit more present and awareness of my thoughts and not so much ramblings. I do have an idea for it. This one ended up being a spur of the moment thing. So I'll look for another, either probably, it might be like a what ifs Friday or keep it the same, Friday fascinations or whatever, which it's iffy Fridays. Maybe, I don't know. We'll decide what to call it later. Yeah. Again, has anybody got anything to add or want to ask or anything like that? Don't have my cards with me tonight, but the chat frozen on y'all's end. Probably not connection. All right. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. You're welcome. You're welcome. Seeing a lot of turmoil come up in loved ones and family, and it's not misplaced. That's another thing, Even though we are facing trauma or trying to realize what's going on with our doubts, our perceived uh, inadequacy or things that strike us and really kind of hit home. That's not a bad thing. That is progress. That is growth. It's and it's something, and it's okay to feel these feelings. Feel what you feel. I'm not saying submit to the harshness of the emotions, but submit yourself to subduing, in the sense of like being water. There's a lot we can learn just from watching water. It's much like driftwood that floats along. It comes by, but as soon as you want to take it in and really gaze at it, it's gone, and then another comes by, right? It's like how time flows, much like water. It's ever flowing, and to try to be the drop that ripples the entire ocean, by the time it reaches its destination, that drops no more, right? Yes, we are most definitely being faced with the reflection of ourselves, and that's human existence entirely right now. In this entire paradigm that we find ourselves in, this battle between good and evil is the reflection of ourselves. So being like water, it nourishes everything without expectation. So go forth in our life and in our progress with an open heart and unconditional love without expectation. Be kind, be humble, be better than you were yesterday. Wake up today saying, I am that I am, and I shall be better. Whatever better is, just be better for you, right? You don't have to be better for everybody else. You don't have to hold up the world as Atlas. Just be better for you. Also, with water, it flows and it cuts into corners and goes to the lowest points without judgment. So as we go into our reflection, we're going to hit low spots. We're going to have those realizations that we are traumatized, that there is hurt, that we are facing heavy emotions. But as we go into this, as much as water flows, we should do so without judgment. Passing into existence, the void without judgment, right? And then there's another one. This is all coming from Lao Tzu, by the way, like Taoism. It's just things being within nature, learning from nature, growing with nature, growing in nature. And I've said it many times, be water. Why? We are water. What is water? It sustains life. It gives lives. One more that I really like, though. It'll come to me later, probably. I'll be sleeping and be like, damn it, there it was. Yeah, so There's one more little thing I had to sit here and stare at the screen long enough and suppose will come out. Maybe. I don't know. I might jog my memory. What we got? What we got? What? So yeah. Let's see. All right. So it blends. Not so being like water. Going through this or having conflict with ourselves or with life. Do not allow it to be difficult. Flow like water. It nourishes without expectation. It blends with surroundings, calm and reflective. It runs its course with ease and without judgment. Be water. So something I shared with Sam earlier that going through some struggles. It's it is part of it, and that sucks, right? But even in that strife and that conflict, allow that to become water just as you are. Let it flow, let it nourish, let it be unjudgmental, right? Let it be reflective and calm. And think of it too like water. A still pond is a mirror of the universe. But caused with turmoil and grief and churning, it becomes rapids that distort the true image of things. And it becomes violent, right? So when we start to distort and we start to influence into a negative pattern or relapse into that, the water becomes violent. Right? It's rapids. It seeks to sink our ship, and it crashes down. Y'all heard me talk about the waterfall. I've used it in our meditation. A perfect waterfall will have like a mirror showing through it. And that is the epitome of the duality. It is calm, yet it is forceful. And as we pierce that veil, as we walk through a waterfall, we are cleansed of that paradigm. And we were able to wash away that trauma. We're able to wash away that self-perceived turmoil and conflict and violence. And all it's doing is flowing. It is of the flow. We'll embrace the flow. Yeah. Yeah. It's about rounding it up. Anybody got anything else for me? Yeah, one day I am going to get some of y'all on here. We're just going to have like a round table ramble. I'm not going to be the one talking. I want everybody else to talk. That's probably a lie. I won't shut up either, but yeah, there'll be more talking. Yeah. On a lighter note, with all this happening, we are washing away a lot of that trauma and hurt and pain and self-turmoil. It's like the Willy Wonka show. There we go. Yeah, perfect analogy. Like as it goes into the tunnel, it's all kinds of fucked up shit going on in the tunnel, but the ride itself is calm and pleasant. And as we go through, we learn and grow, evolve, and as we come out on the other side, it's Candyland, right? Yeah. I feel like Willy Wonka sometimes. I just want to let y'all know that it is all right. We're doing good. The shift is shifting, and the perpetuated trauma that we have, and the systems that have made that just an ongoing thing for thousands of years, it's crumbling, it's being washed away, washed anew, and we are making the better for it. We are becoming into our potential highest good. It's a beautiful thing. It is. Yeah, we're doing really so much better. I can't express that enough. Sure, there's negativity, but the amount of love, the amount of just radiant and encompassing light, love, and peace, clarity is just, it's mesmerizing. It is it's a beautiful thing. That's exactly what it is. It's has this special hum to it, right? That's another thing. Right? As we do progress forward and get into our affirmation in the fourth density, like I said, I'm not going to waste this forward. It's a journey, and it's a beautiful, it's a loving one. Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be awesome. It is awesome. And yeah, I'm going to leave you on with that, okay? Just love, light, clarity, peace. All you beautiful souls out there, just know that it's okay to be feeling all the fluid mix of emotions and having those moments of either doubt or whatever you have, that's fine. Just remember, it's not a choice of left, right, straight, back, side to side. It's moving forward in growth and strength and love, gaining that clarity of that highest good. So, yeah, y'all be well. Stay safe. Stay uplifted. Go hug somebody. Don't have somebody to hug. Find an animal. Don't have an animal to hug. Go outside and hug a tree. Actually, I would suggest really doing that. It's very uplifting and healing. Hug a tree. They might need it. I guarantee we all. Yeah, y'all stay blessed. I love you.